Hello friends, my name is Bilal Khan and today I'm going to be talking about another video of the AWS, and the topic of this video is EBS, Elastic Block Storage. So in this video I'm going to show you the theoretical part of the EBS, that what it is and how it works, but in the next video I'm going to be showing you the practical part of the video, that how the EBS really works. So let's go to the screen and show you some of the points. As you can see here that this is the page in which I have written some of the points, but before moving to these points, let's take a look at some of a diagram. So here you can see that this is the diagram. Let's say consider it a PC, right? So this is the PC. Let's say this is another PC, right? So this is another PC. So let's consider them the PCs. So there are three PCs or the instances that are currently present. After that, the next thing that I'm going to do is to just create the blocks. So what these blocks are, so basically this block is the EBS block, or the Elastic Block Storage Volume, in which the data or the volume will be stored, right? So basically what this Elastic Block Storage does, it will give the storage volume to these PCs. All right, so whatever amount of the storage volume these PCs are requiring, basically the Elastic Block Storage will give those volume to this PC, right? So it could be 500 GB, it could be 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, according to the PC's need or the instance's need. The EBS will provide those storage volumes to these PCs, and in between these storage volume and the PCs, there will come something in between that is called the network. So there will be a network that will basically be handling the request to send the data, to send the storage volume and give the storage volume from and to the EBS, or the Elastic Block Storage. So inside it, let's say this is the what you can say, this is the arrow in which it will be transferring the data to EBS and transferring the storage volume, and similarly this storage volume will also give the storage to the PC. So yeah, this is all about the EBS, or the Elastic Storage Block Storage. So I hope you understood that what EBS does. So yeah, this is the short introduction of it, the overview, that EBS will basically perform as a hard disk in order to give the storage volume to the PCs or the instances. So now let's take a look at some of the points that I have written here. So hard disk through the network is EBS volume. So hard disk, this is a hard disk, let's consider it a hard disk. Through the network, there will be a network in which the requests will be handled, and that the EBS volume will basically give the storage volume to these PCs, right? So this is all about it. Now there will be some kind of latency. So what do I mean by this? So let's say the PC is basically requesting from the EBS storage to give the volume, right? And the EBS volume is giving the storage to the PC. Now there will be some kind of delay in order to give that storage to the PC. Why? Because there is a network present in between. If the network is not present in between, or let's say if this whole EBS is not present and the instance is directly accessing the data through its own instance, then it will not take some time. But the delay is happening due to the network that is present in between, and that delay is not in hours or minutes. Instead, this delay is in seconds or milliseconds, right? So yeah, this is all about it. So that delay is called the latency, in which it will take some time in order to give the storage to this PC, and that delay could be milliseconds that you won't notice it, but there will be some kind of latency, right? Now let's remove this. Let's go to another point, and that is the one instance can have multiple EBS volumes, right? So as you can see here, this is one instance, this is one, this is one. So it can have multiple EBS volumes, right? So let's take a look at this. This instance can have EBS volume, and this instance can also have EBS volume, right? So now it means that one instance is taking the storage volume from this EBS volume, and this instance is also taking the storage volume from this EBS, right? So yeah, this is possible. Now let's take a look at another point, that is one EBS volume can have multiple instances. Now this is the opposite case in which one EBS can have multiple instances, right? So let's take a look at this. So this is one EBS volume. It can have this instance in which it will give the storage, and it can have this instance also to which it will give the storage, right? So it is also possible. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that there are not many EBS volumes that will be doing this kind of functionality. So what is this kind of functionality? So there are not that many EBS volumes that will basically be giving the storage to multiple instances. Basically, there are one or two EBS volumes that will basically give the storage to multiple instances, but most of the EBS volumes will not give the storage to multiple instances. So yeah, this is the point that you need to keep in mind. It is possible, but it has some kind of limitation in which not all the EBS volumes will give the storage to multiple instances. Instead, some of the EBS volumes will give the storage to multiple instances. Now let's take a look at another point, that EBS volume will be locked in a specific availability zone once you make it, right? So it can be accessed by that instance which has the same availability zone. So let's say this is the EBS volume that is created in the Asia zone, right? So let's say this is created in the Asia zone. Now this instance should also have the Asia zone in order to access that storage, right? So both of these instance and the EBS volume should contain the same availability zone. Otherwise this PC will not be able to access the storage from this EBS volume, right? So this is that point that you need to keep in mind. Now there is another point, that you can also change the availability zone of the EBS volume using snapshot. So this is some kind of functionality that I'm going to be showing you in the later video, like another video. But the point that you need to keep in mind, you can also change the availability zone of the EBS volume, but by default the EBS volume and the instance should have the same availability zone, right? But you can also change the EBS volume availability zone if you want to, in order to make it equal to the instance availability zone, right? So this is also possible. Now you can increase the size of the EBS volume while running. So let's take a look at this. Let's say you have application running in this EC2 instance or PC, right? So now this EC2 instance is running the application, let's say on 500 GB, right? And the data is present 500 GB, and the data is taken from the storage volume is taken from the EBS volume. But most of the data, let's say 400 GB is consumed, but only 100 GB is remaining. So you have more requests to come in order to access more data. So as a result, you need more, let's say 500 GB. So as a result, the application is running, and you can request to the EBS volume in order to give you extra 500 GB, so that even if the application is running, you can still request from the EBS volume to give you 500 GB more. In that case, the running application will not be stopped, and you can still access the storage volume, and the users can request the data, right? So yeah, this is possible. Now there is another point, that a question that is basically arising, that volume on the instance instead of EBS. So the main question arises that, let's say if I want to have the storage volume not in the EBS but on the instance, is it possible or not, right? So if you didn't understand, let's say let's say you have the EBS storage in which you have the storage volume, but you want the storage volume to be present in the instance, not in a separate volume. Is it possible or not? Because there is a latency present that will basically be causing some kind of delay. So you want to remove this kind of delay, and you want directly the storage to be present in the EC2 instance instead of requesting it to the EBS volume. Is it possible? Yes, it is also possible. But another precaution that you need to keep in mind is that if the PC is terminated, or if let's say the if the instance is terminated, in that case your data will also go away, right? But in the EBS volume this will not happen. Even if the PC or even if the instance is terminated, your data will be present as it is. Why? Because data is present in another block, it is not present in the EC2 instance. But if you want the data to be present in the EC2 instance, then in that case you are responsible for your data, because if you deleted your instance, the data will also go away and the AWS is not responsible for it. This is the point that you need to keep in mind, and this is a precaution, right? So let's take a look at the last point. That is basically, if there is a change in the instance, then from the AWS, then you will receive notification and the volume will be deleted. You need to take care of your data. So let's say if there is a change happening in the EC2 instance, let's say if on the background the machine is corrupted, or there is something happened to that machine that is running the EC2 instance, so in that case it will basically stop that running machine, or it will stop that EC2 instance. And once this EC2 instance is stopped, before stopping it, the AWS will give you the notification. Why? Because you have the data that is present in the EC2 instance. You have not the data that is present in the EBS volume. So as a result, the AWS will give you the notification that, hey, we are replacing our machine, so you need to take care of your data and you need to move your data to another instance, because once the machine is replaced, then your data will also be corrupted and you won't retrieve or get the data again. So yeah, you need to take care of data, because if you put the data in the instance, then you are the responsible person of your data. The AWS will not take care of it. So it's a good choice in order to store that data in a separate block, that is the EBS volume, so that anytime you terminate the data will still be stored. It will not be corrupted. So yeah, these are some of the points that I have written here. And I hope you understood that what is EBS volume and how it performs the functionality. So later on in the video, in the next video, I will be showing you the practical example of this, that how the EBS works, and all the points that I have discussed here will be practically used in the next video. And so till then, you need to wait for it. So I hope you like this video. So if you liked it, then make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, then ask those questions in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer all of them. So till then, goodbye.